Last night and yesterday afternoon was very difficult it was a very difficult pill to swallow. I've never seen anything like it since I've lived in Alice Springs, but it was just carnage. It was scary. You've obviously seen the videos. We can measure the cost of broken windows and broken car windows and those sort of things. However, we can't measure the mental health that those workers who are barricaded in the buildings go through. It was challenging, but I welcome the announcement today. It's certainly nothing to celebrate. However, it's a welcome announcement.
How do locals feel about the level of crime there and whether they want to continue living there?
Well, the locals are clearly fed up with the level of crime. This isn't new. I just want to touch on that. This isn't a new point. Everyone will remember where we were 18 months ago, 18 months before that. It's just escalated and escalated. Lots of people have left, and that's a really sad part of Alice Springs, is losing people who have been here for many years, which is the community spirit that Alice Springs is based on. Hopefully some of these announcements will go a long way to fixing that as immediate solutions, but we'll see in the next 14 days what that looks like.
Yeah, so the Territory Government has announced this curfew with 58 extra police officers. You're comfortable with that as an initial response?
Well, I've been quite loud in my advocacy of saying we don't have enough boots on the ground and we don't have enough resources. I welcome Pallies going back on bottle shops. You know, I am conscious that being in the Territory, we are a small jurisdiction. We're obviously taking the police from elsewhere. I am conscious of that. However, as the Mayor of Alice Springs, I certainly appreciate that we are getting more boots on the ground for the very near future. But I will say and echo the calls that we clearly don't have enough resources in Alice Springs. And I just want to say thank you to the frontline workers in Alice Springs who work tremendously hard every day to keep us safe.
What do you make of the Chief Minister's assertion that the government has not lost control and that police are doing a great job and we're able to disperse the crowd, and that the skills needed at the local level are very different to the skills that AFP officers have?
Oh, look, I will say that AFP in ACT are the boots on the ground there. That's not a different police force. So I did say as well, it didn't just have to be the AFP. I would have been happy if police in other jurisdictions could have come to Alice Springs for the short term. However, we've got an extra 58 police officers coming. You know, I think, as I said, the police do a marvellous job. There's just not enough of them. We know they spend 80% of their time on domestic violence. So it's saying if they're spending 80% of their time on domestic violence, there's not enough police to do the other policing work in Alice Springs.
So at the moment, you're not calling for the federal government to become involved in this?
My calls this morning were for the federal government to take control if the Northern Territory government couldn't. We've seen an announcement now from the Chief Minister. However, I will say, in 14 days, if those 25 police and the 33 Pallies go back to general duties in Darwin, I again will call for the federal police or other jurisdictions to work with us to give us their police force to get this through. It's not a quick process to recruit staff, I understand that. However, I want to say that I do welcome the calls, I do welcome the announcement of having 58 more police officers in Alice Springs.
You mentioned the 33 extra Pallies. Just for people unaware of the situation in the Northern Territory, what are Pallies and why are you very happy that they're involved in this?
Well, Pallies are police auxiliary liquor inspectors. They're at every bottle shop. What police auxiliary officers do is check your address and see where you're drinking your alcohol. If you come from a town camp or a restricted area, you're not able to purchase alcohol. We've seen in July 2022 the removal of Stronger Futures. Lots of organisations and individuals, including myself, asked the government not to do that. They removed Stronger Futures. We went back to carnage on the streets. The Prime Minister came to Alice Springs in January last year. They put Stronger Futures back. The removal of Pallies 2 weeks ago was basically loosening the laws to let everyone drink alcohol again. What the Pallies will do is maintain some level of expectation in the community that if you're not a responsible drinker or if you're not in a suitable place, you can't drink alcohol. It is welcomed by the community that Pallies are back in place.
So for the moment, you're content with the Northern Territory Government response with sending 58 extra police officers to Alice Springs. And you'll assess that at the end of 2 weeks. At the end of that, what do you say the police numbers need to increase by in Alice Springs permanently for you to be satisfied that they'll be able to ensure security and relative safety on the streets in Alice Springs?
Yeah, look, I'm not in the police force, I'm not the commissioner, I don't have access to those numbers. But what I can say to you is when you get broken into and you're a level 2 or 3 and the police don't attend, there's clearly a problem. And that goes to show if the police are spending all their time doing domestic violence work and they can't attend to properties who are break and enter or they can't do follow-ups, there is a problem. We're running our police force into the ground, and hence why I would assume some of them are leaving and going elsewhere. I don't have the exact numbers of the number of police. However, what I can say to you is we need more. I think we'll have a fair assessment after 14 days of what that looks like. You tie this in with the emergency declaration, the curfew. I think that this is the circuit breaker we've touched on. Now, Alice Springs Town Council and myself have been asking for these sort of changes for months and months, and if not years and years. And I think it's a good start. I welcome the Chief Minister's reaction to this, and I'm, along with the Chief Minister, enough is enough and things have to change. I don't know what else needs to happen for people to start listening to us in Alice Springs to say we can't continue to live like this.
And as you say, this is a circuit breaker, this is a short-term solution. From your perspective, what do you see as some of the longer-term solutions to what are intergenerational issues?
I've been quite forward in my approach about the medium and long-term commitments from the federal and territory governments, and I've not been critical of those. The $250 million announced by the Prime Minister last year, I think, goes a long way to addressing that. It certainly doesn't fix all the problems. You'll find a lot of people being critical about the 250 and the slow rollout of that 250 million. I will say that that is beneficial because what we've seen for years and years before now is in election years, politicians rock up out bush in communities and just say this community needs a basketball court, this community needs a clinic, and they haven't actually spoken to or consulted with the community. I would suggest that what they're doing now is consulting properly to make sure each community gets what each community wants or needs, and therefore we're not going to see random basketball courts at random communities, and that $250 million is being driven from the community up. That's a part of the long-term plan, and I'm quite satisfied with that, and you won't hear me criticise that.
And so have you got a degree of optimism and confidence now that with this announcement today and what you're saying about the money that's being stumped up for longer term solutions, that the approach to this from governments is starting to come from the right direction?
Look, I think this is a start, but what I'll say is we asked this 18 months ago, and so you know, it is slightly frustrating, and yes, we had a different Chief Minister and there's been some ministerial reshuffles and all of those sort of things. However, as a community, we've been asking for change for a very long time. I just hope that it's not too little too late, and this is a step in the right direction. I think the emergency declaration, the curfew and extra police goes to show that governments will listen to the community, and hopefully this is a step in the right direction.